So JD Vance went on Fox News to try to clean up the mess of their flailing campaign. And it didn't go very well. So he's going to say a number of things here that are eyebrow-raising moments. Let's watch.
What is the administration doing, the campaign doing with that data as it comes in? I mean, these are critical states that you got to have a path to 270. Are there any pivots? Are there any, reconfiguring of what you're doing in the strategy? Because you talk about your message, but is it not landing?
Well, let me say two things about this, Shannon. First of all, the polls tend to radically overstate Democrats. We certainly saw that during the polling of summer of 2020 and summer of 2016. And of course...
Okay, that is not correct. It's true that at times the polls overstated Democrats. But in recent history, it's actually the exact opposite. In virtually all the special elections that we've had, it was Democratic support that was understated. There was like a silent Democratic voter that was understated. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is they predicted red wave in 2022, and it wasn't a red wave. It was a red trickle. So again, it's the exact opposite of what he's saying. Trump himself in the Republican primary. This is a guy who underperformed the polls against Nikki Haley by 8 points. So again, there was a time where what he was saying here was true. That time is not now. The recent evidence is the exact opposite, that Democratic support has been understated.
A lot of those polls were wrong when it came to Election Day. The second thing I'll say, Shannon, is what we have certainly seen is that Kamala Harris got a bit of a sugar high a couple of weeks ago. But what we've actually seen from our own internal data, Shannon, is that Kamala Harris has already leveled off. If you talk to insiders in the Kamala Harris campaign, they're very worried about where they are because the American people just don't buy the idea that Kamala Harris, who's been vice president for 3.5 years, is somehow going to tackle the inflation crisis in a way tomorrow that she hasn't for the past 1,300 days. Giving Kamala Harris control over inflation policy, Shannon, it's like giving Jeffrey Epstein control over human trafficking policy. The American people are much smarter than that.
JD Vance, here's a pro tip for you. When Donald Trump is the only candidate in this race that has been on Epstein's plane at least 6 times, don't mention Jeffrey Epstein. Don't mention Jeffrey Epstein. Just don't, like, why would you remind people of Epstein? Why would you bring up Epstein when last week Trump was flying around in Epstein's plane? I'm not kidding about that. They chartered a plane. It was Epstein's old plane. Not the Lolita Express, but a different one that was Epstein's. Oh my God. Oh my God. What are you doing? What is this? Now, the other thing is he's hitting her on inflation and being like, well, she caused it, so why would she fix it? Wrong. She didn't cause it. It was the pandemic, it was the supply chain, and then it was corporations doing what's called greedflation, which is they take the narrative of runaway inflation and they then use that as an excuse to jack prices across the board. Now, Kamala Harris actually has a plan to deal with that, banning price gouging, and you guys are attacking it and saying it's communism. What's your plan to deal with inflation? You don't have one. Other than to say, just vote for Trump. You vote for Trump, things will be good. Just vote for Trump and everything will be great. Absolutely embarrassing. And by the way, look at her face when he brings up Epstein.
Giving Kamala Harris control over inflation policy, Shannon, it's like giving Jeffrey Epstein control over human trafficking policy. The American people are much smarter than that. They don't buy the idea that Kamala Harris represents a fresh start. She is more of the same. It is doubling down on the failed policies of the Harris administration to give Kamala Harris a promotion rather than to fire her, which is what I think most Americans are going to do on November.
How does that not line up then with another poll we got out this morning, Washington Post, ABC? They're giving the vice president nationally a 4 to 5 point lead. I mean, those are new numbers. So if you think the momentum is not swinging or your internal polls are suggesting differently, every other poll that's been released has shown great momentum in her direction.
You know, Shannon, I think there are a lot of polls that actually show her stagnating and leveling off. Of course, ABC Washington Post was a wildly inaccurate pollster in the summer of 2020. And look, if you see the numbers that we're seeing and you actually talk to the American people, I feel extremely confident that we're going to be in the right place come November. We can't worry about polls. We have to run through the finish line and encourage everybody to get out there and vote. But our message is going to be very simple. If you want to get back to the peace and prosperity, the rising take-home pay, Donald Trump delivered it once and he can do it again. If you want to double down on the failed policies that have delivered higher food prices and higher housing prices, well, Kamala Harris has been vice president for 3.5 years, and I guarantee she's going to make the problem worse if the American people give her a promotion.
So
the thing we have to remember, one final point, let me just say one final point on this, Shannon, because I think it's important. Consistently, what you've seen in 2016 and 2020 is that the media uses fake polls to drive down Republican turnout and to create dissension and conflict with Republican voters. I'm telling you.
Oh, my God. I mean, he's Trump's running mate, so this shouldn't come as much of a surprise, but he's gone full Trump. The media uses fake polls. Fake polls. Okay, why would having a poll where the Democrats are up, why would that make Democrats more enthusiastic to vote. If anything, if I'm a Democrat and I see a poll where Democrats are up like 8 points or something, let's just say, that makes it more likely that the Democrats won't go vote because they're going to think, hey, we're going to win this thing anyway. We're up a massive amount. I'm not going to take the time out of my day to go vote. So what he's saying doesn't even make any sense. If anything, if you wanted to like spur Democrats to vote, you want to show a poll where they're like 2 or 3 down, right? And then it's like, oh shit, everybody's got to get out there and vote. We got to make sure we do our part to make sure that the Democrats win. But he's saying it's a conspiracy. Really? All these big Emerson, Ipsos, whatever, all the different polling organizations, they're colluding to make fake polls that show the Democrats up to theoretically inspire Democrats to vote more, even though a higher number for Democrats will probably make it less likely that they want to vote. Oh my God, dude. What the fuck are you saying?
Every single person who's watching this, the Trump campaign is in a very, very good spot. We're going to win this race. We just have to run through the finish line.
Everything's going great. We promise. Don't worry about it. It wasn't a big deal when Trump was out there questioning Kamala Harris's race and saying that she just turned into a black person. It wasn't a big deal when he was obsessing over crowd sizes and claiming that Kamala Harris used an AI crowd when she got off the plane. None of that was a big deal. It's not a big deal when he says she's dumb and she's low IQ. It's not a big deal when he recycles and cut and pastes every single argument he used against Biden. He's now using that against Kamala. Don't worry about it. We're in a great place. We're in a great place. And he says, oh, our internal polls are good. Oh, are they? This is what Biden used to say when he was clearly down like 4 or 5 points and getting shellacked in every single swing state. Jack, I'm told this race is basically tied. We got internal polls show good things, Jack. And he's doing the same thing. Oh, no, it's it. Really? Who are your internal polls? Rasmussen? Is it Rasmussen? The people who would have Republicans +1 in a Democrat +10 year? Is that what we're doing here? Oh my God. This is embarrassing. Again, don't be an asshole and go to JD Vance's Twitter and ask him what brand eyeliner he uses. Do not spam JD Vance with questions about what brand eyeliner he uses. That would be very impolite, very rude, and that's beneath you. It's beneath you to go to Twitter, go to JD Vance, and ask him what brand eyeliner he uses. I would not recommend doing that. I think it's very bad if you do that. So definitely don't do that. Definitely don't go and ask him what brand eyeliner he uses and spam him with 270 replies all about the brand of eyeliner he uses. Don't do that. I'm just saying, don't do that. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.